Bingo, 1 o'clock rock here on Monday. Okay, this is Research in Manoa. We're talking about sound in the ocean with two research scientists, Giacomo Giorli and Adrienne Copeland. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks for having
Great
us.
to have you here. Now, you're a PhD. What does that mean?
It means that you have to spend a lot of time trying to get a piece of paper.
Where'd you go to school before Hawaii?
Oh, to Italy, in Italy, where I'm
What
from.
city,
and,
what university?
Florence. And then,
Not too hard to take.
no. But yeah, after my master, I came here to UH Manoa for a PhD in oceanography,
Okay.
and I made it.
Okay.
Can you believe
Did it.
that?
And you're doing your research at the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology, which is on Coconut Island.
Yeah, in Kaneohe Bay.
Okay. In the Mammal Research Program.
Yeah, we do, our lab is specialized in marine mammals sound. So it's a bioacoustic sound lab. It means that we study the way that animals use sound. And also we use sounds to study animals that use sound.
We're going to get into that, into the depths of that.
Pretty much you can understand where animals are doing just listening to them
Yeah.
underwater.
Yeah, interesting. Adrienne,
Yes.
Where'd you go to school?
So I'm just finishing up a PhD actually at the University of Hawaii, Manoa.
You're working with Giacomo?
Yeah, we collaborate on lots of projects together
Okay.
out at Coconut Island, yeah.
Okay, so what's the current project of note?
Well, we have a grant from the federal government to understand the behavior and foraging of some species of whales that are not really commonly known to the public.
And they're found in Hawaii.
Yeah, they're found in Hawaii, and
What's the name of the species?
there's different species. The families is called beaked whales. They're like big dolphins, but they just dive really deep into the ocean, like 2,400 feet.
Are they friendly, or will they?
Well, they don't.
You don't
they
really see them
yeah,
much.
don't see them
Oh,
much.
interesting.
Yeah,
they
big-
take really long foraging dive down to 1,200 meters. No,
They
2,400.
they just figured out that they're the deepest diving marine mammal.
Yeah.
They dive down below 2,000 meters, which is over 6,000 feet. So we're talking really deep, and they can go down there for over a half hour holding their breath the whole
And they
time.
just come up, breathe for a little bit, and then boom, down.
And they
deep
stay
in the
down
ocean.
there mostly.
They spend most of the time underwater.
Isn't that
so
interesting?
It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
So sound. Do whales have ears?
Yes, but they're not really that functional. The way that they hear, it's not really understood yet. But first of all, we don't even know all the species out there what they hear. We know of really just a bunch of them. Like,
Yeah, so we know a lot of the research has been done with terciops, which is bottlenose dolphins, because we have those in captivity, so we're able to understand their hearing.
Does it work the same way as a whale's hearing?
No, they don't believe so, actually. Most of the hearing seems to be through their lower jaw, whereas we have ears, and because these whales and dolphins dive down really deep, they don't want to have external ears because that could help, or that could reduce their ability to dive deep because you have drag
I
on
know
your
it
ears.
would affect my ability to dive.
Yes.
So now what about sound underwater? Sound underwater is a different, may I say, animal.
yes.
Yeah.
What's different about sound underwater and over water?
Well, there's two different fluids that we're talking about. Air, it's thin.
Yeah.
Water is really dense. So the way that the sound transmits in these two different fluids is totally different. So a sound that is really loud in air actually is not really loud in water. And also the way and the distance that the sounds can travel to, it's way shorter in air because the medium, it's thinner, while water is so dense that conducts the energy.
Goes a long way.
Yeah.
Yes,
The
exactly.
energy will just travel
Yeah.
and travel.
It also depended on the frequency, so different sounds travel at different distances.
You mentioned before the show that the Navy sonar travels a long way because they use a wide type of.
That's not totally correct. When you talk about a specific sounds, we need to put it in a context. We need to consider the oceanographic situation. We need to consider what kind of sounds we're talking about.
Because temperature, salinity,
Yes.
stuff in the ocean can actually affect the distance that sound can travel.
And you can think it.
So you can't make any hard rules about this because all those variables are always changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so whenever you think about Navy and sonar, you have to try to look at the context of what kind of sonars they use and in what situation.
Yeah. Now you're using sonar, right?
We use scientific sonar, which
What's the difference between scientific sonar and Navy sonar?
So our sonar is actually much higher frequency. So it doesn't transmit as far as Navy sonar, and it's actually a pretty narrow beam. So the beam of sound coming out of our instruments is only about 7 degrees. So you're talking, it's really
focused.
Yeah, really focused area. Whereas with Navy sonar, it's usually lower frequency than what we use.
the powers that we're talking about are also different.
Yeah.
So the energy that you transmit into the water is different. We use really lower frequencies, really lower powers. Sorry.
Yeah,
So is it fair to say your 7-degree higher frequency sonar is less likely to be injurious to animals in the ocean?
Technically, yes, but again, we need to put it in context.
Yeah.
Not all the animals can hear the same sounds. So as you have a different hearing threshold, a different frequency compared to your dog, you know, dogs can hear ultrasounds and you
Yeah.
cannot.
Yeah.
So you have to think about the same when you think about marine mammals. Baleen whales hear certain sounds. Dolphins' hearing system is tuned to hear other sounds. So the effects that a particular sonar might have is different across different species, and it also might not have any.
Okay, so
actual-
what's the phenomenon where the sonar actually does injure the animal? What happens? You say they don't have ears in the same way we see ears. So what happens if I send some sonar down that's really
Okay, let's say
powerful?
Let's say
What
you're
happens?
transmitting on a frequency that an animal can hear.
Yeah.
There are different scenarios. First of all, you have to. First of all, it might happen that the sound is attenuated by the time that it reached the animal.
Yeah.
And
So
so
it
the
might not
animal
get to it.
might
So
not
it's
even react.
no energy left in it, so it's not going to hurt anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it does, if you can somehow figure out that it does, then there's different scenarios. Animal can be subject to temporary threshold shift or permanent threshold shift, which means
What
it's
is
like
that?
it's like when you go to a concert,
To
to
a
a
rock
rock concert.
concert.
You come out and you're hearing our. You hear the little beep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
I don't
permanent.
go to rock concerts.
I do. You should. It's
Okay.
fun. But
I know, it's all scientific.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
basically, what happened is that your ability to hear it's shifted, and so I have to talk to you louder for you to understand me, and that's a temporary threshold shift.
Okay, so
More
you
s-
use the sonar
Yeah.
in order to learn things about these animals, whales, porpoises, what have you. What other animals are you
So we
talking
actually
to?
mostly use the sonar to understand what is in the water column. So it's similar to what.
What's the water column?
So what's in the
So what-
ocean? Just what's there? What's in the
Okay.
ocean at any depth?
Okay.
You can use sonar
You
to
mean
get.
going all the way down? like that?
Yep, you can use sonar to get information about the bottom depth, so how deep are you?
Yeah.
You can get information about what is in there, whether it's fish or squid, or so we actually use sonar to understand what organisms are in the ocean and how they are, what their behavior is and their
It's
movement.
like your eyes.
Exactly.
It's like
yeah.
you're seeing with the sonar.
Yes.
But that's active sonar because you have to get a ping back on
Yes,
that.
yes. So we emit sound and we get echoes back from whatever's in the water column.
Yeah. And then what do you do with all that? The data comes back, and I guess it's the ping that counts.
Yes.
I mean, the echo. And you have a way of listening for the echo, which is some kind of microphone under the surface.
Yes.
And then you're pointing it because it only has this very narrow 7-degree focus, and you can put the result of that sound and the ping
Yeah.
in a spreadsheet somewhere,
Yes.
a database somewhere. Okay, now I give you a whole big database with all this stuff. How do you read that? How can you tell?
Well, we can estimate what's the density of different animals type in the deep ocean, and these animals are actually what this deep diving whales predates on. And so it's kind of like a predator-prey relationship. If we want to find out where most of the predators are, we better find out where their prey are. And so we could tell the Navy, hey guys, if you want to do exercise, or if we have to construct something in the ocean, if you have to build something, if you have to search for oil, maybe this kind of activity should be regulated according to where you can find these species, so that your
You should know what's down there.
yeah, so your
exactly.
activity
so-
doesn't impact
And
the
your
life
activity
of-
is not necessarily sonar, it's anything.
It could be.
You're
it could
just
be.
giving a snapshot of what's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that this construction company or the Navy or whatever, whoever is doing something down there will know the environment.
They
Yeah.
have to take the necessary precaution
Okay.
in order.
Did they
to
come to you and ask you about it? They
Uh,
say,
we-
Giacomo, we're going to go down and do this thing, and we need some advice from you guys, the scientists.
Well,
Tell
it's-
us, what not to do down there so we don't disrupt the environment.
We provide the science. We publish our science, and we hope that
What journals?
The Acoustical Society of America, Deep Sea Research,
Marine Ecological
yeah,
Progress Series.
Okay.
And so this information becomes available to the people that makes decision in policy. And NOAA actually is the
NOAA is reading
the
your
federal
stuff.
agency that regulates
Yeah.
this kind of activity.
Yeah, so they would actually, I mean, even if you were taking a water column out in the middle of nowhere, 500 miles from Hawaii, and you found some stuff and you published your data and sort of call it a notice to mariners, a warning that, you could really do some damage if you do certain things in this area and say why, that NOAA is going to see that, NOAA is going to gauge its regulation on that basis.
NOAA actually, Adrienne, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they regularly update their regulation and directive to, because marine mammals are protected
Yeah.
by the federal law.
Even in the open ocean,
in the U.S.
In U.S. waters, yeah, they're
U.S. waters, which is what now?
Ooh.
Oh,
The 12 miles,
I-
100 miles?
I think it's 12 miles
Yeah.
from every U.S. territory, right?
Okay, so then your water column research would be within that period, within that area also?
Yeah, so a lot of our research actually is focused pretty close to shore. So we do a lot of it off the island of Hawaii.
Big island.
Yeah, the Big Island. Yep. And so we go off the Kona side of the island because there's actually a lot of biological activity there. There's a lot of marine mammals. There's really interesting dynamics between the land to sea interface. So we go off there to try to understand if there's this hot spot of biological activity that is attracting these different species to the area.
So again, it's a pursuit of knowing what's down there.
Yes.
Knowing what's in, I love that term, the column.
The water column.
The water column. And so your primary methodology is sonar.
Yeah.
We
sound.
use both passive acoustics, which is like we just listen
Yeah.
to animals. So these deep diving whales, they found their prey using sounds. They use echolocation, which is a sonar system.
Yeah.
So the animals, they emit some sound in the water. They listen to the sound that gets backscattered from the prey, and they track the prey.
Backscatter, we have to talk about that.
Backscatter.
Right after this break, we're going to
So,
talk about
and
that.
what
That's
we can-
Giacomo
Yeah.
Giorli and Adrienne Copeland. Here we are on Research in Manoa, talking about sound in the ocean, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, 25 talk shows by 25 dedicated hosts every week, helping us to explore and understand the issues and events in and affecting our state. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Aloha! My name is Carl Campagna. I am the host of Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. We hope you join us every Wednesday at noon right here on Think Tech Hawaii, as well as on OC16. Our show covers a range of important topics regarding education, our educational system, where we are, where we're going, where we need to go, and some of the important people that are working on that, from state legislators to department heads to teachers and students. We bring in everyone we possibly can to have a comprehensive conversation about the educational system here in Hawaii. So we hope you join us again every Wednesday at noon here on Think Tech Hawaii. Mahalo.
Bingo, we're back. We're here with Giacomo Giorli and Adrienne Copeland of the Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology at Coconut Island here on Research in Manoa, talking about sound in the ocean. And during the break, you missed it, we talked about the Hunt for Red October, which aside from being about submarines in the Cold War, was about sound. under the ocean, and
It
you
is.
you hit the side of you hit the submarine hull, and that sound can be heard in the ocean
Yeah.
quite some way. It's amazing what happens.
Yes, it's really interesting how Hollywood adapted all this concept to make it really like interesting to the public.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so now we know more about the ocean column.
Yes.
And we know more about the life down there. And we know more about, I guess, the dimensions of it, how
Yeah.
deep it is and what's at the bottom and all this,
Yeah.
all through the magic of sound. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer active or passive? I mean, what more likely to do active sonar or passive sonar?
I think that you have to integrate the two
Yes.
things because there are some questions that we cannot answer with passive acoustics, especially if we want to track down the prey, the work that we're doing. And so we're also using imaging sonar systems, which are really high frequency and short range sonar that they can reconstruct an image of what's in the water. So basically you use sounds.
You get a picture.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like a camera, but it's based on sound.
Ah, that's so exciting. That
And
must be recent technology. That hasn't existed
It's
for
in the
very
last 7-10 years.
Ah,
It's really cool because you can put it down over 900 meters,
Yeah.
which is again over
Multiply by 3.
yes 1,500
20.
feet. Yeah. So we're able to look at these really deep depths and see like squid moving or fish moving at these
Yeah,
depths.
and it's really cool because you can measure the animals, so you can say what are the size, and so from a fisheries point of view, it opens another wide range of
Yeah.
interesting application to discover what's the resources that we have in the deep ocean that one day we could be depending on because fisheries are collapsing everywhere
Yeah.
around the world.
And
Yeah.
we're talking
And-
about really high pressure areas that are really cold. So the fact that we're able to put cameras and stuff down at these depths is huge improvement in science and really helps us to get information about what's down there.
oh, I just realized that the camera is a sound camera,
Yes.
Yes.
and the camera is not at the surface.
No.
No.
You drop that thing down
Yep.
on a cable all
We
the
just-
So
way
we have
down.
so we have both. We have sonar at the surface that we can emit down, and then we have this camera that we drop all the way down on a cable.
Yeah.
So it's different technology trying to answer a similar question.
Wow. So who makes this? Do we make it here? Do you make it
No,
in your
the-
laboratory?
I wish.
No, there's a company in Seattle that they're engineering, and
Okay.
yeah, that's
So-
their deal.
So, but you mentioned that you want to know about the life there in the deep ocean. Does this help you determine the life in the shallow ocean? I mean, for example, if I want to know about the depletion of the fisheries, can your science tell me about that?
Not directly. Our science is more focused. This is like a project that's just started a few years ago, and so our main object is: can we define deep sea habitats that are really important for these deep diving whales? So we know that you don't live in an habitat that it's hostile for you. You just want something that provides you with the ability to survive. And that's the same in nature for animals. They
Yes.
live where they can find the resources.
Yes.
So if we can define deep sea environments on the basis of oceanographic condition and availability of prey, maybe we can define what areas are important for these whales. So this is our first goal, but we also getting information on the biomass of fishes that are in the deep sea, and this is another important aspect.
What do you
that
mean
we-
when you say biomass? I mean, a
I
fish
mean,
is
the,
a
I mean
fish,
the
isn't it?
amount,
much?
amount,
Yeah, how many
densities,
fish?
like
How many?
How
Can
many?
you count them?
We can estimate. We can get some good estimate.
Are
of
they
it.
edible? Is this a fish I want to have in my restaurant?
Why- We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But we might. but the point is, we need to figure it out. The important thing is like figuring out what the resources are and how to use it we don't want to run out of resources for ourselves too, right? Think about it.
Captain Nemo.
Yeah.
I can see Captain Nemo. Remember him?
I do
Yes.
remember Nemo.
Well, with this stuff though, also with the organisms that we look at in the deep sea, a lot of them do migrate to the surface at night to feed. So there is a connection with the surface with some of these organisms, yeah. So during the nighttime, they'll actually go to the surface, and then right before dawn, they actually go all the way from 0 at the surface back down to 400 meters. So,
Really? How interesting.
yeah, so it's one of the largest
So
migrations.
You have to go out at night to do this, to figure it out?
Well, we collect data 24 hours, so that way we can get an understanding of what's down at depth during the day and what still is at depth during the night and how that relates
Okay,
to.
I'm getting another message, and that is that your cameras don't need you. You can leave them there. Am I right? You don't have to be hanging them off the
Well,
fantail.
no, they do require battery power.
Yes.
So,
Okay. So you have to have a cable attached to it.
yeah, so you're
have to have a
limited by
boat.
how much power you have, and yeah, so you could leave them for a period amount of time, but batteries take a lot of space,
Yeah.
and you want it compact so that way it doesn't disturb what you're trying to study.
Yeah.
So you need small space, so little batteries. So most of our stuff will only run an hour and a half at depth without our changing the batteries and everything.
Okay, we've been talking mostly about active sonar, I think,
Yes.
but you also mentioned that fish, whales especially, I guess, give off sounds.
Yes.
And with your cameras or your microphones, you can read those sounds. So do you study what they say to each other?
No, we that's
There's
no,
another specialty for that.
Yeah.
No, we use the sound that they emit to infer their position, to infer the amount of whales that are around and understand where they are, how they're distributed, and when do they forage, when are they searching for food.
Yeah, because they
these
make
kind of
these
answers.
clicks when they're searching, so you can actually get some
What does it sound like?
You cannot hear it because
Yeah,
it's high
it's really
frequency.
high.
So again, you have to contextualize.
Yeah, it's
Okay, but you can hear them and you can put that data in your spreadsheet.
Yes.
You can identify some species by the sound that they emit,
Yeah.
just analyzing the sounds, but you cannot. Some species you can hear.
You can hear
some
sperm
other
whales
you can.
quite nicely. They
sounds
have
like
very
this.
regular clicks like this.
That's so cool. Maybe we can get some music out of it. You know? Talking about rock concerts, yeah.
Yeah.
So now in September, you're going on a ship. It's the SETI, and it's a research ship.
Yeah, it's a NOAA research vessel. Yeah.
Yeah. So a NOAA, yeah, owned by NOAA, and you have a deal with NOAA where you can use the ship, and you have what operational control of the ship for a period of time.
We collaborate with them. So they do their own studies out there, and then we'll tag along and do our studies to try to help further this understanding of what is going along the island of Hawaii.
So I want to know how these trips work, 'cause it sounds so interesting. So this SETI ship is here in Hawaii.
Yes.
It's in Ford Island. Yeah.
Okay, and you can get on the ship and bring all your gear.
Yeah.
And you're going to stay there how many weeks on the ship?
This one's 15 days, so a
15
little
days.
over 2 weeks.
Okay, what do you do, swim all day? What?
I wish.
I
No.
wish.
No, we pretty much work all day.
Yeah, okay.
But they're 230-foot vessels, so they're pretty large. They have 4 levels, so it's not like it's a tiny little boat, but yeah.
You wouldn't get seasick or anything.
I'm lucky I do not.
Okay.
Some people do though. Yeah, but no.
How's the food?
Oh,
Really good?
Really
Yeah,
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
NOAA food.
Yeah. it's-
Seafood?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, there's lots of different food. We get really lucky. Some ships don't have good food.
Okay, good. This is SETI, we remember that.
Yeah.
We'll make a movie out there. So what's your day like as a scientist on a research
Well,
ship?
everybody's on a different schedule because different scientists are in charge of doing different operations. So there's a chief scientist, which is in charge of making the schedule of the work.
Is that you,
And-
Giacomo?
No.
Okay. But somebody has to design the project.
Exactly.
What you're going to do.
And it's gonna decide what's coming, and it's gonna assign each scientist as his own work to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it makes a schedule of the day. So for example, my job usually is 4 hour a night and 4 hour a day. So the other
You sleep the rest of the time.
rest of the time I try to sleep, I eat something.
Or
I
watch
ha-
movies.
I have breakfast at night, depending if I have to work at
Hunt for
night.
the Red October.
Yeah.
And yeah, so every scientist is on his own kind of schedule, depending on what is his task and job on the ship.
So I think the important thing that Jocko is mentioning is that it is 24-hour operations.
Yes.
So someone is always working at all times,
Yeah.
which is fascinating.
Why? Why does it have to be that way? Why can't you
Because-
take a break?
Because that's the most effective way to spend the money. If you spend money to keep a ship on the ocean, you better use all the
Yeah,
time that
ships
you
are
have.
not cheap.
They're not cheap.
Yeah, so you get a grant, you write the grant so that you can get the ship and the funding to go out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you say what the plan is, what you're researching.
Yes.
So in September, what are you looking for?
So we're really interested in September understanding the distribution of what's called micronecton, which are these organisms that are found below 400 meters.
Micronecton.
Micronecton, yes.
Micronecton. Just spell it.
Micronekton.
Got it.
I'm bad at spelling, but I think that's right. But yeah, no, so during the daytime, most of them are down below 400 meters. And so we want to understand their distribution and how the island affects that, because they seem to be a really important component in the food web. So they link primary producers, plankton at the surface, with higher trophic levels like whales. So we want to understand how this varies daily and how it varies over time and how that affects large predator distribution like sharks and the marine mammals we're talking about.
Do you have any theories you want to prove? Any scientific propositions you want to affirm?
Yes, I'm particularly interested in what's called the island mass effect. So there's been studies in Hawaii that have found closer to shore you have more biological productivity. So there's more phytoplankton near shore. And so we think that maybe there'll be more micronecton that are feeding on it near shore as well. So we want to see if there's this hot spot near shore and if maybe that's attracting these whales inshore as well. So.
You guys are so excited about this. It's great.
I know.
Have you been thinking about that all day long for
Oh, really?
15 days?
Yeah.
Okay, so what? How about you? Are you going to do the same thing or a different? You have a different.
My task would be to use the acoustic camera on this.
You're an equipment freak.
I'm an equipment freak. I'm the guy that solders all the wires and yeah.
I know how that works right here in the studio.
Yeah.
Good. If you need a technician, I can do it.
Okay, got it. Yeah, well, we have to come out and see you. Maybe before or after you come
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
Take pictures while you're out there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll examine this whole thing in detail with you. I mean, living through your eyes and ears.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have some website resources that people can check.
Yeah, please.
And those are from previous research cruises that we did.
Yes.
And I don't remember the web address right on top of my head, but people can search for the Smith Ocean Institute website, and they have.
It's the secret lives of whales.
Yes, it's the secret.
The secret lives of
We did
whales.
this cruise, and there was a blog report every day. And
You're going to do that?
usually somebody does it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's not on.
Well, we'll compare notes
Okay.
about your trip.
Yeah.
When you come back, we'd like to have the same discussion again, find out what you learned.
That's
Okay,
good.
Great.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Jay.
Giacomo.
Thanks for having
Great
me.
to talk with you guys.
Yeah, Jay, it was great to be here.
Till